So this is a Blendtec. It's one of those fancy pants blenders that costs like 400 bucks. It's definitely not cheap. I've had mine for a little over 3 years though. I've gotten a ton of use out of it. In fact, you can see here with the counter on the front, it says I've used it 1,663 times. That's roughly 1.5 times a day, every day, since the day I bought it. Because I drink a lot of smoothies. Though to be honest, I probably drink even more milkshakes. Because on the one hand, you got kale, which is great. But on the other hand, you got ice cream, which is better. So if you gotta pick, the choice is kind of obvious anyway. The point is, these things are expensive. So here's a tip to save you 100 bucks when you buy one of your own. And that's it. When you're not using it, turn the damn thing off. And I mean off. And that'll save you 100 bucks. So how so, right? Well, back when I bought this, I kind of went on a big eco-friendly kick, just in general, Started composting, drinking smoothies, riding my bike more, all that shit. And as part of that, bought myself one of these clamp-on ammeters. And I went around the house and used this to hunt down things that waste electricity. Now this one is a Unity UT210E. And it's decent enough, I guess. I think it was about 40 bucks back when I bought it. They make them cheaper, make them nicer. There's a whole range of them. The important thing is that a clamp-on ammeter makes it very easy to check how much current is flowing through a wire. And this told me that this, being powered on and reading off that counter, would cost 100 bucks. So let's walk through this, right? Unfortunately, using these things is not quite as easy as going on the power cord and doing that. Because in this case, we have current flowing from the wall to the blender, and then back from the blender to the wall to complete that circuit. And that back and forth causes it to cancel out, and then it reads a net of 0. But what you can do is get an extension cord and split that out, which is kind of janky. Or if you're willing to spend a few more bucks, you can get a very nice, very safe, very clean, and easy to use line splitter that lets you go around that, and then you can read it out. If you remember to turn it on. There we go. And then read it out and see that it takes 0.060 amps just sitting there reading off the counter. So we know that watts equals volts times amps. It's 120 volts at 0.06 amps. So do that math, it's about 7 watts, right? Which isn't that much, 7 watts, Back when I was a kid, a light bulb used to be 100 watts, and this is only 7. So just ignore it, right? Well, you think about it, and you leave this on 24/7, right? And there's like 8,700 hours in a year and change. Something like that. I forget. Call it 9,000. 9,000 is a nice and easy round number. So 9,000 hours, that's 9 kilowatt-hours. Because, metric science, that's how it works, 9 kilowatt-hours. It works. And then 7 watts times 9 kilowatt-hours is 63 kilowatt-hours. And then where I live, with my electricity rates, I can go to my bill and see that 63 kilowatt-hours is a little bit more than 10 bucks. So, granted, where you live, maybe electricity is cheaper, and it's not quite as much. But on the other hand, maybe you live in California, in which case, my condolences to you. And you're also going to be paying a lot more for this because electricity is expensive there, just like everything. But anyway, roughly 10 bucks a year in straight up waste. And you consider that this guy has a 7-year warranty, so it's probably going to last, 7 years and a day, given how warranties work, right? Or maybe, be more generous, say 10 years. That's probably pretty fair. So 10 bucks a year wasted for 10 years. And there you go. That's 100 bucks right there. We don't think about this stuff that much, right? Like, things have gotten so much better in recent years, we don't really consider the things that still do waste electricity, right? Like 20 years ago, a light bulb was 100 watts. Now an LED is like 5 to 10. It's gotten a lot better. Stuff like this little USB power supply. This one, it's like a kilowatt-hour per year in idle draw. I tested it, and it'd be like 10 to 20 cents per year just leaving it plugged in. Obviously, when you charge things, it takes a bit more, but just the idle standby electricity is like 10 or 20 cents per year. Barely anything at all. But other power supplies can take a lot more. So for example, I've got a server computer that I use for editing these videos, like a big honking server. And that thing has dual redundant power supplies that leaving plugged in would cost $50 per year. Just plugged in, not powered on, just plugged in is $50 per year. That's a crap ton of juice. And then another example, this kettle here, right? This is a digital kettle. So it has a thermometer built in, so you can set the temperature that the water heats to. It doesn't have to do a full boil, right? So you make tea, heat it to 170, you're making coffee, heat it to 200, it's kind of nice. But when it's turned on, it reads the temperature off, and that takes $1.50 a month just to read the temperature off. At least this guy too has a switch to turn it off like that, and this guy doesn't. So for 6 years, I just had it plugged in, and I spent more than twice the cost of the kettle in electricity from having it plugged in. I didn't even know because I hadn't tested it yet. And I go around and test it, and I'm like, wow, that is just, it's just wasteful. That's the problem there, right? So I went and got a little wallboard switch for it. This guy here, this is like $5 or so. So within 3 or 4 months, it's already paid for itself. And I went in the house and found maybe $15 a month in just straight waste from things like this, around the house. And granted, it's not a lot of money, right? $15 a month, it's something, not a lot though. I spent $400 on a fucking blender, right? So another $1 a month of having it turned on is not that much. What gets me though is that it's simply waste, right? And that some engineer had to design this thing, right? And as an engineer, granted as a software engineer, as a technical person, as a technically inclined person, to know that some engineer designed this and said that, $1 a month in waste electricity is okay, that's what gets me, So, you spend the one-time cost and get one of these, and you can easily go around your house and find what the biggest culprits are. And in fact, one thing you can do to make it go a little bit faster, though, if you're comfortable working with live wires and higher voltages, one thing you can do is go to your panel, pull the cover off, and actually just check the circuit for every room, and then see which rooms are the biggest offenders, and then go to each room, and then find the items in there that are worst. That's how I found the kitchen here was like a hot spot where I had a bunch of stuff just being wasted, and found several things in here where now I'm wasting less. And you find this guy interesting and saving electricity and money that way. I should also point out there's this guy called the Killowatt. It's a stupid little pun. And the way this one works is you plug the thing directly into it and then plug that into the wall and let it sit for a week or so, and it counts up all the kilowatt hours used. So this is better for things like your fridge or freezer or stuff like that cycles off and on, where the instant measurement you get from this isn't really so pertinent, right? Because a fridge, when it's just sitting there, doesn't take very much. When the compressor kicks on, it takes a lot more. So because of this, I know that my fridge is about $50 a year, and my chest freezer is only $35. So surprisingly, or maybe not, the chest freezer takes less. And I guess that's because, while it is a lot bigger and a lot colder, you don't open it as much. And when you do open it, you open from the top so all the cold air doesn't rush out, and it ends up being way more efficient than the fridge. This guy also told me that the dehumidifier I used to use in the basement was taking $70 a month in electricity from running a dehumidifier. $70 a month, that is a lot. So what I did there instead was I put an intake duct in the basement, added that to it. So that way the HVAC system will draw air in from the basement as well, where all the damp air settles, and I'll run the air conditioner more, and the air conditioner ends up acting as a dehumidifier for the whole house. And while the AC does take a lot of electricity, I mean, even still, $70 a month, that's so much. I'll run the AC a little bit more, and it'll still come out, better. And, this is not only economically better, it's also environmentally better. Better for your wallet, better for the earth. What's not to like?